Tonight we continue our special series, Children Come First. CTV News began by asking this question. In a mostly black and affluent county, shouldn't Prince George's be a national model for closing the achievement gap? Reporters travel from the nation's capital down to Georgia in search of an answer. In our third installment, Natalie Wilson returns from Atlanta for an in-depth look at the public school system here at home.
In this week's installment of Children Come First, we highlight a principal whose leadership helped turn around a school that many would have written off. But through teamwork, faith, and determination, Dr. Judith White's vision transformed this Title I school into a #1 school. Here's the story from Dodge Park Elementary.
I think it's a lot of Dodge Parks. I think we have some great leaders in our system. I just think PG County is the untold story.
Dr. Judith White is the epitome of what it means to be a product of Prince George's County. Born and raised here, she is a graduate of the school system. She went on to receive her master's degree from the University of Maryland and her doctorate from Bowie State University. For all the years she's invested in her education as a student, she's now using her experience to serve the people in the same community she calls home.
I love our school district. I could probably choose to go work somewhere else, but I went to Nicholas Orr Middle School here in the district, High Point High School. I graduated from Prince George's County, so if I'm going to be able to give my best to children, I want to give my best in an area that I grew up in, an area that trained and taught me and that cared about me as a child. So I want to be able to give back. I think we have some of the best students, you know, not to knock Montgomery County, Anne Arundel, and all those places, but we have the best right here. And people need to realize that definitely I think any system has its areas of growth, but why not keep the best people here to help build that vision?
Her 14-year career has spanned several positions, including working as a special education teacher, test coordinator, and assistant principal. But perhaps one of the most challenging jobs would come in 2004, the year she was appointed principal of Dodge Park Elementary.
When I first came to Dodge Park, the school was performing in the 20th percentile proficient. And I don't know if it was me being naive or not knowing any better. It's like, okay, we're 19%. I mean, we have nowhere to go but up.
Some might say coming to a Title I school where a large population of students are living in poverty and dealing with a number of social issues is a bit naive. But when you look at the results 7 years later, perhaps not.
In our first year, we jumped up to 50%. And a lot of that was just based on the motivation, the love, and the caring of our kids. So the belief that we know you can achieve, and really across the entire staff, building a culture that fostered that with them. And so pouring my heart out to the kids, playing music for them in the morning, hugging them, constantly drilling them that they can achieve and do anything. We just begin to see our numbers go. And every year since then, we've made our AYP. In 2 years, my first 2 years, we came out of school improvement, which is big because to come out of school improvement, you have to hit the state standard 2 years back to back. So if you hit it 1 year, miss it the second year, you have to start those 2 years all over. So the first 2 years here, we hit it and came out. And we've just been soaring ever since.
Over her 7-year tenure, Dr. White and her team were able to increase student achievement by 60% in both reading and math. A school that once had less than 20% of students identified as proficient now has more than 80% of kids performing at proficient or even advanced levels. A lot of the school's success can be credited to what Dr. White calls being an instructional leader. She says gone are the days of principals managing buildings, but now it's about running the day-to-day and spending time in the classroom to create a learning community.
Because elementary teachers teach everything. So where one person may be great at reading, they also have to teach math. So if they're not so great, and if you don't address that, your kids never learn the right way. So as a school then, when they believed and when we hit that first year target and they saw the jump, now they were like, okay, what do we do next? How do we increase, whatever you say, we're going to try it and do it. And all I ask of them is just try. I'm a leader that if we do something that's wrong, we go back and fix. I don't have a problem saying to my staff, that didn't work and we need to fix that. But we do it together. And we just try to reach the best.
Tell me something you visualize when you hear the title, The Popcorn Book.
Inside the classroom, even at the youngest levels, small group learning and peer discussions are implemented to build critical thinking skills. In this class, students are analyzing evidence within the text to draw conclusions about character traits. Aside from enforcing specific academic standards, the strides in student achievement in many ways comes down to one word: confidence.
Children learn based on effort. And so we've got to teach kids their effort can make them the best they can be. So naturally, you're going to have some kids who are born genius. You're going to have some kids who are born, that are not genius. But any child can get better with effort. And so one of the things that we have to focus on is, how do we build your effort? How do we build your ability to know the harder you work, the better you become, the smarter you become? And so I'm just glad that in where the part that I have control over, one of the things that I work on is, you have to be, and to be in this building, you have to believe that every child can learn, and every child can learn at high levels. Every child. You can't believe, and I think we do in education. People say that, but do you really believe it? I think if you don't believe it, that's that word exposed again. I think you'll get exposed, because then with conversation turns to, well, I've been doing such and such, but he can, or his parent. But what are you going to do to make sure that this child can learn? That's our job. That's our job. Every child can learn. Every child. They might learn at a different pace, but every single child can learn. I don't care what nationality, where they're coming from, how much money their parents make. Children don't have jobs. Children don't pick zip codes.
On the 2010 Maryland School Assessment, Dodge Park Elementary met AYP in all areas. In reading, 84.9% of students were considered proficient, with only minor percentage differences between ethnic groups and children from low-income families. Even in the categories of students who are not fluent in English, 90% were reading proficient. A total of 86.9% were proficient in math. Dr. White is, of course, pleased with the progress of the last few years, but explains that her sense of pride goes further than a test.
Is testing everything when it comes to saying whether or not a school is successful?
According to the state, yes. According to a building leader, no. And that's my personal opinion. Just because if I'm performing at a low rate, so let's say we take scholastic reading inventories, and that should give us an idea of where you are, whether you're below grade level, on grade level, above grade level. If I score 300 and that says that I'm below grade level, but by the time we take it again, I'm at a 650. Look at that jump, but I could still be below grade level. An MSA is not going to tell you that. An MSA is going to tell you whether you took this test and passed it according to what they feel a pass rate is and what the questions are asking. But it doesn't show the growth of students and how far they've come. When we look at MSA scores, we look at them from third grade to third grade, fourth grade to fourth grade for each year, and how our third graders have done, how fourth graders. But that's not a growth model, because if my third graders take it now, I want to see what my third graders do in fourth grade, and I want to see what those same fourth graders do once they get to fifth, and with those same fifth graders. I should see growth. I should see that they're learning. I should see that they're moving along the continuum.
Our interview comes on the heels of Dr. White receiving a prestigious honor. She's the recipient of the Washington Post Distinguished Educational Leadership Award. It recognizes principals who demonstrate going above and beyond on a daily basis. Dr. White calls the honor humbling, primarily because her staff entered her into the contest without her knowledge, and it was they, as well as students, who wrote letters on her behalf. Being at a school that many didn't think stood a chance to one that is now a flagship, it's planning as a team and not being afraid to try new ideas that has made a great difference at Dodge Park.
So to see that growth, to see where we started and where we are now, to see a staff who buys into a vision, and no matter what I say, they want to do it, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Natalie Wilson, CTV News.
Since our interview, Dr. Judith White has accepted a position as an instructional leader within the school system.
And stay tuned next week as we have more in our special education series, Children Come First.